Welcome to Module 3. Module 3 we are going to discuss about decision making. Today's lecture we are going to discuss about concept, types, importance and process of decision making. The last two modules we discussed about the definition of principles of management, concept, the evolution. Then we discussed about the planning, because we said planning is a precursor to other functions of management, and we are moving to the another important functions of management, which is decision making. Today the first lecture it is going to discuss about the concepts, why decision making is important, what are the process of decision making, we will see in the lecture. Let us get into the lecture. Okay, let us start with what is a concept of decision making. So for everybody would have made decisions, right? Whether either in your life, whether to which subject to choose, which discipline to choose, whether then in terms of job, people who are already working, you would have made decisions every day. You will be making some decision which one to choose, which is better, which is not better. You would have calculated the cost and benefits. You would have, everybody is making decisions. Now let us try to understand from the conceptual perspective what is decision making. The term decision making refer to as a process to identifying problems and opportunities, then trying to resolve these problems or the opportunities we identified from the set of alternate course of actions. In every time when you are making a decision is always associated with certain things. It can be a problem or it can be an opportunity. Any decision which is always driven by some existing opportunities or a problem, unless otherwise there is an opportunity or there is a necessity to act on it, then we do not make any decision. So it is always a process where we will try to identify the problem. When you are trying to identify the problem, we will also formulate, understand the problem better. Then if in case if it is not a problem, there is an opportunity. Let's say one company has started doing some business, and after into the business for more than 2 years, they found that there is a potential to explore in other disciplines or the other products also. Then that creates an opportunity. Let's say there is a demand from the customer on the allied products what they are doing, so there is an opportunity. So when there is an opportunity, then you will have to identify, okay, what you can do to tap that opportunity. Then you will make some effort to create or convert the particular opportunity into a product, or it can be a service where you can make a business out of it. So that is where the decision making comes into a picture. So according to Stoner, Freeman and Gilbert, decision making is the process of identifying to deal with a specific problem or take advantage of an opportunity. As I said an example that you are doing a business, then you say that your customers are really liked your product, but they are also looking for an allied product for whatever the product you are producing. So there is an opportunity. You are wanted to take an advantage of the opportunity. So decision making is treated as a state of complete process at a time when problem and opportunity is identified, resolved from among two or more alternatives course of action. Because when you're talking about decision making, it is not the only one direction will decide, right? So even in your personal decision, for example, the students who have completed their 12th grade and then wanted to get into a professional career, or it can be medicine, or it can be arts and science or a commerce, any program you wanted to choose, you will always look at, okay, what if I choose this discipline, what not if I do not choose this discipline. Even in the engineering, let's say you are decided to take an engineering, then in engineering there are multiple disciplines, whether to choose mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, or electronic communication, computer science, IT, there are multiple things, right? So you will always try to look at the possible opportunity alternates, and then out of these you will make a decision, okay, which one will be very suitable for me. So every time when we make a decision, it is not only in the one directions or one choice. We always try to make multiple choices. Out of the choices, we try to choose the best possible course of action which is going to benefit the company or benefit an individual person. So decision making is a thought process of selecting choices from available alternate options. As I said, it is very relevant. When we make a decision, we always look at what are the possible choices are available. So which one should I choose? So when we choose the alternatives, we will also look at the cost and benefits associated with any decision we make. And then, for example, if I choose this, what is going to happen? So, and what is the cost I'm going to incur? So am I going to spend so much of money? Am I going to use so many people to complete the task, or should I go for another alternative? For example, now a company might take a decision whether to have my own building or to lease out a building, or let's say, should I have a permanent employee, should I contract my work? So there is always an alternative, right? So out of this alternative, we will try to see, okay, which one is better? Should I, it is better to go for contract workers, because when I do not know that future is what. If there is an uncertainty in my future business, then I would say let us go for a contracting out, because I do not create liability, I do not owe any more liability with my contract employees, because I'm just contracting out. It is better choice. So that's how people make decisions based on alternate choices of option. Okay, let us try to understand the types of decision making. Aswathappa has pointed out 4 different types of decision making. One is a programmed decisions. Choices are made in response to a relatively well defined and common problems. Possible alternate solutions are already known. So for example, there is a program decisions. You will always have some rules and regulations which will guide you to choose a decision. For example, let's say 3 suppliers are giving you a quote that this is what our material qualities are, this is the price. So now in this particular decision making situations, what will happen, my company would have already have a policy or a guidelines to choose which vendor to choose. Okay, so what will happen? So first, maybe some company will also give weightage to a quality, sometimes based on the product material we are buying, sometimes placed heavily on the price. So let's say if out of these 3 suppliers, one is providing the competitive price in terms of a cheaper price, so company always wanted to make a profit out of anything, right? When I save something on cost on some materials, it is better, right? So these program decisions are always governed by established rules and standard procedures. So it will actually help you what kind of a decision you can make, because it gives you a guideline. So let's say you should choose a supplier who is quoting a lesser price. So my rules are very clear in this particular decision making. There is no uncertainty, because there is a rule which is governing me. I'll choose out of these 3 who is giving me a cheaper price. He is going to be my supplier. Done. This is called program decision, where you will always govern by the established rules and set of standard operating procedures. So you will take a decision. Then non-program decision, where we are talking about strategic decisions. So the choices are made in response to situations that are unique, largely unstructured, against where we have program decision where it is already structured, there is a operating procedure, there is a guideline, guidebook, everything is there. Here it is largely unstructured, have significant consequences for organization. Where whatever the strategic decision we are talking about, where there are a lot of uncertainty, we are trying to forecast, estimate what we can do, then decisions are complex. That's called non-program decision, where we are most of the time it is a strategic decision, strategic thinking going on, what to do for the company, okay, how we are going to as a company going to function in the complex business environment. There are competitors, let's say new entrants entering my business market, so how I am going to respond, how I am going to protect my existing customers. So that is going to be a non-program decisions. Then adaptive decisions. Most of the time it is always related to existing decision, what kind of a modifications you are going to do, what kind of a improvements you are going to do on a retuned decision, so that the practices there you will have a better advantage, right? Adaptive decisions are because anytime, as we said from the beginning of the course, we are saying that changes are permanent and uncertainties are always there in the business. So unpredictable situations are always existing in any part of the business. So any activities you do, so then you cannot have a one decision fits all, right? So nothing will fit everybody, right? So no one single solution to handle all different problems. So there is always a likelihood that you have to be open for modification. So that adaptive decisions, which is always adapting or modifying and improving the existing decisions, so that I am able to reap the benefit. I always wanted to move forward with increased efficiency. Then innovative decisions. So in this the choices are based on discovery, identification or diagnosis of unusual or ambiguous problems and development of unique or creative alternate solutions. For example, now we are talking about alternate artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. There are multiple opportunities are coming up where we are trying to create solutions. Let's say can I use artificial intelligence to automate some process? Can I use robotic principles to do some activities, where I am always trying to go for the innovative decisions, where where the people would never know what would have been a likely output, so where the innovative decisions are gone. So as per the Aswathappa, there are 4 decisions: programmed decisions, non-programmed decision, adaptive decisions, innovative decision. Let's also see some other types of decision making. Okay, so there are other 3 important kind of a decision making, which are generally managers have to make decision on different aspect, which is a strategic decision. Strategic decisions are nothing but these are the decisions which are directly related to achievement of a common goal having a long-term effect on organization. It is about driving the future for the organization, what kind of a goal we are going to have for the organization, so that no organization can gain out of the decision. It's a long term decision which will have a larger impact on the organization's prosperity and progress and the development. Then tactical decision, let's say now I have made a strategic decision. Now tactical decision which are based on implementing strategic decision. Yes, I made some strategic decision, how I'm going to implement that, something very tactic I should plan, how I will implement, in terms of implementing the strategic decision in terms of the different forms with the different subunits, different functional areas, different business unit. That can be multiple ways, and you will have to identify tactically, you plan, so that you will be able to better implement whatever the strategic decision you made, right? Then operational decision is nothing but your day-to-day routine activities in the organization, where you have to make a decision at smooth running of everyday activities, at a lower level management, where related to day-to-day operations of the organizations, as I said, where it is not going to impact the large level in the organizational goals or the strategic decisions or strategic directions. It is just generally focusing on how I will run my business day-to-day operations. For example, let's say all of a sudden there are 2 people are absent, how I'm going to manage when there is an absenteeism? Am I going to have a reserve? Am I going to reshuffle people based on the necessity, need? So that is the operational decisions, right? Okay, now we are going to understand the importance of decision making. Everybody knows decision making is very important. Now let us also see why in the course of principal management we need to study decision making. So decision making is a key to success for any managers. Now managers are always rated based on their successful decision they made. They are responsible for ascertaining and realizing whatever the goal defined by the company. So when you are saying we always he is a successful manager, or he is not really a successful manager, unsuccessful manager, very competitive manager, how people associate this adjective towards this manager, it is always based on how effectively they are able to make decision. Because the decisions which are made and then which are being implemented effectively, it will provide a lot of benefit. The moment they see there is a leader or a manager who is able to make a effective decision which is actually always benefiting my company, they are always rated high, they are always seen as successful managers. That's why decision making is very important. That is one of the critical role of a manager, because it's not the decision made at the lower level, it is always by the managers who is making the decision. Okay, now let's try to understand the other importance of decision making, which helps for effective planning. Though we said planning is a precursor for any other functions of management, including decision making, but decision making is also important for effective planning. It is most important to make decision at every stage of planning, right? In every stage of planning means you will say organizational goals, then you will say subdivisional plans or the unit level plans, whatever the plan, these are the subsequent stages, the process you make, you need to make decision at every level, right? Okay, this is what the goal, how you are going to set the goal, then you are making a decision. Let's say that can be, you can set 100 as the target for a month, or it can be a 500 as a target for a month. Then you need to make a decision, right? You need to make a decision and say, okay, this is what the target we are setting. So it helps for effective planning. Then unity of action, it establishing a coordination among intra and inter-organizational planning, directing and standard to be maintained at each stage of action, maintaining unity of actions through decision making. So that actually decision making which will tell me, okay, how I need to coordinate within the organization or between the organizations, and then the moment the decision making is done, it is actually creating a set of targets. Then it is actually giving me a way against that which I can measure the performance of particular set of a group or a unit or individual employee. That can be anybody we are talking about. So actually decision making also drives the unity of action, who has to be coordinated with whom, and how we need to coordinate between the organization, within the organization, maybe within the functional areas, HR department, academic, finance department, then we say operations, we have marketing department, how we need to coordinate collectively, so that the decision making is actually influencing this. Then determining managerial stake, it is also helpful to determine a position of a person, whether he or she is in management, on the basis of participation in the process of decision making. Actually it will tell, as I said, managers are the one who drive the decision, it is not the low level people. Based on the role given, or based on the level of authority given to make decision and implement the decision, that will actually help to trace who is in the managerial position, who can actually make a decision, who has a power assigned to them to make the decision. It is actually helping me to understand the managerial stake is provided to the individuals in the organization. It is helping me to identify who is having the managerial capacity to make decision. Okay, then it helps for better managerial functions. It is deeply related with management functions. Fruitful decisions help better managerial functions, as they are to take wide range of decision on many important issues. Decision making is indispensable accompaniment for any managers, because you have to, every manager has to take decision every day. They have to take multiple decisions in terms of resource utilization, in terms of budget allocation, in terms of hiring, in terms of managing my clients, in terms of my logistics, in terms of coordinations between the departments, in terms of responding to my higher ups or the top level management. There is always you need to continue to take my decision. So it is actually helps better managerial decision. It is actually helping you to enhance your skills as well. Key to success, decision making, of course, as I said, every manager's success is always evaluated against the kind of a decision they made, how successful those decisions are. It helps to understand the challenging situations of the organization, as they are perceptively dynamic. The older is always yielding place to new, either in personal or in unforeseen contingency, which call for decision making build the path of success. As I said, every manager is determined based on the success of the decision they're making. So every day manager has to make a decision, so then they need to be very effective in terms of making a decision how they're going to choose the out of these alternative courses of action is available. Then decision making will also enhance the skills and capacity of the managers. So decision making process do not give management always a good result. Let's say we made a decision about one outcome, but probably that was not successful, but though it is not yielded the result what we expected, but it will actually give you a more opportunity or experiences of how to handle a certain situations, how need to be better predict the situation, or how need to collect or increase our information's repository, so that now we are able to make a better decision which would have actually yielded a positive result. So it is actually enhance your skill. Let's say when one decision actually failed, it is actually giving me an opportunity to learn how not to make a decision, or where we failed and why we are not able to be successful, what are the consequences, what has actually made our decisions fail. So it is actually enhancing my skill of collecting more informations, and I think seeing through, foresee what will be the probable outcome. So actually it will improve the skill and capacity of the manager, even though the decision is failed, but the decision making as a process, it will help a manager to improve their skills and capacity. Okay, let us try to understand the nature of decision making. Okay, so decision making is understood as making one mind, as it refers to making choice among available alternatives to resolve the problem. So decision making is always understood as making one mind. Though there are multiple choices or multiple alternatives are available, but we need to make a decision, which one we are going to choose, and then that has to be communicated, and then collectively everybody has to agree to a same decision, and then have to drive the decision towards our goal achievement. So the making one mind is important. Then decision making is a process oriented effort. It is not a single activity. It is always a process oriented effort, because it helps in identifying both the problems and opportunities, right? See, now why we have a process, because it is not always that the problems are very visible to anybody, or even to a manager. So it is always a process of you need to identify the problem, formulate a problem, and when you are formulating a problem and identifying a problem, then you will be able to know what is actually resulting this problem. When we know what is actually causing this problem, then we will be able to make a better decision to handle this problem. Unless I do not know what are the factors which are causing this problem, if in absence of those factors, then if I make a decision, I am not actually addressing the problem, rather I am only treating only the symptoms. I am not actually going to the core of the problem. So it is always a process oriented effort. And decision making concern with managers arbitrary in distribution. It is most of the time managers have a arbitrary decision, right? Because the decision making power is levied on the managers, or it is given to a manager. So they are making some arbitrary decision about how I am going to allocate the resources or distribute the resources. When the manager make a decision about distribution of the resources, they always apply a lot of their thought processes in deciding how much of resource I can allot to this particular divisions, and how much of financial resource I can use, what in understanding my organizational capacity as well. Decision making is done by the management as the representative of the individuals or organizations. So as I said, it is again talking about people at the managerial capacity. They make decision on behalf of the organizations, right? So the nature of decision making is also talked about, who will make the decision. And why they are making a decision? Because they are become a representative of the organizations. On behalf of the organizations, they function, and they as a role of the management, they make a decision for a betterment of the organization. Yeah, we will try to understand what are the conditions influence the decision making, right? So because as I said, there is always certain aspect which will influence my decision making. Let us try to understand, which is very important and interesting to look at it also. It's a certainty. The decision making is very easy if things are very stable and you know the probable outcome and you well aware of the problem, you know the alternate solution, and you can also predict the result. Let's say let's take a coin, right? So tossing a coin, probability theory, very simple. Everybody would have studied in the mathematics. Let's say I am taking a single coin. When I toss a coin, what is the probability of getting head? It is 1/2, so it is 0.5. So the result is known. But out of these two, yes, of course, again I am not very certain about the outcome, but at least I know 0.5 is the probability of getting head, 0.5 is the probability of getting tail. So there are times now where you know the outcome also, right? So then there is a certainty. That time decision making is easier because I know, yes, this is a likely event, I know. Then risk arises when manager knows the possible outcomes of a particular course of actions and assign probabilities to them. For example, I know this is what it is going to come, but sometimes a manager will also, though they know this is going to be a probable outcome, but it is not very certain. But what I do now, I give a lot of weightage. Let's take it's kind of a I pay heavy charge, heavy investment on particular product, assuming that this is going to be successful. In that particular situations, manager is making a risk of investing more on a particular portfolio. If that portfolio, what he has predicted, does not be successful, then it is going to have a lot of risk for a company, right? That's why the risk. Though I know the outcome, probable outcome, but with the weight I assign, if I assign more weight to it, there is a risk associated to the weight I give to the particular outcome. Okay, let's say now out of 0 to 1 probability, if I assign 0.7 as a weightage to a particular product, then I am investing a lot of resources on it. If the outcome is actually 0.3, not 0.7, then the risk associated with it, right? Then uncertainty. There are two sources of uncertainty, such as manager decide beyond control, and they may have no access to key information. One is these are the two ways where uncertainty can arise. One is a manager do not have any control over what will happen. Then there is an uncertainty, right? Then you do not have any information at all. You do not even have an access to the information. Then in the event of no information, if you are predicting or estimating something and then doing some decisions, then there is an uncertainty. So these factors will influence your decision. When there is an uncertainty, what will happen now? You will not actually take more risk of investing, right? You will be very cautious in making a decision. You try to collect informations. So that's how decisions been influenced, right? Certainty, yes. How certainty will influence my decisions? I know the outcome and I will be very confident in making decision. I will make a very quick decision, very simple decision, because I know what is the outcome. Then risk, what is the risk associated with the decision making? Then that will also influence what kind of decision I will make. Let's say if I take A, it is going to hit me very badly, then I am very cautious, right? So that is actually influencing my decision. Then uncertainty, of course, uncertainty will be making a person give a lot of thought process before they make a decision. Then ambiguity. What is ambiguity? The condition which the decision making goals are not set or problems are not clearly defined and alternate actions are difficult to identify, information on expected outcome is not available. Let's say ambiguity means where there is the information which is provided is saying one saying positive, one says negative, then there is an ambiguous situation where I am not very clear whether should I take it as a positive, should I take it as a negative. Let's say when I invest in something, it is going to appreciate or it is going to depreciate. Then some people saying okay, this is going to appreciate, some says it will depreciate. Then there is an ambiguity. Some people who worked on the particular situation says it is going to appreciate, some people says it is going to depreciate. Then it is actually creating an ambiguous situation. Should I be confident it is going to appreciate, or should I not being that confident that it is going to depreciate? That is an ambiguity. That ambiguity will also influence my decision, what kind of a decision I will make, right? Then corporate culture. So every organization will have their culture, right? Culture is shared belief with the employees. So it's very important, right? The corporate culture and dynamic decision making may be restricted in case of a corporate culture is authoritarian and conformist, where there is a strict authority by the as a culture in the organization, then dynamic decision is not possible, because dynamic decision which should allow you to make a quick decisions, where you need to allow to act agile and all that. But if the organization structure is like authoritarian structure, there is a rule driven structure, then it is very difficult. You cannot make a dynamic decision. In contracts, decision makers may be more innovative and adventurous. So sometimes based on the organization culture, they may always take an adventurous decision. The risk taking culture in the organization, they make a lot of risk in investing on certain portfolios, certain products. So these are the conditions which will influence the decision making. Now let us try to understand the process of decision making. So Aswathapa has pointed out there are 6 steps in decision making process. Step 1 is you need to define and diagnose the problem. It is very, very important. Unless otherwise you do not define or scoping the problem, it is very difficult to address the problem, or even to create an alternate source of alternate course of action to address it. So you need to define what is the problem is, and diagnose the problem in order to try to understand what actually causes the problem, right? So you need to diagnose the problem, because why, as I said earlier, you need to understand what causes the problem, so that now I am trying to address all the causes in my action planning, right? Then step 2, it is setting the goals. Depends on the causes of the problem defined and the scope being defined for the problem, then goal setting indicates result to be attained and the direction of the action should be taken. So after the first step, what are the causes, then accordingly you will say, okay, now I need to set the goal of how to address this problem. Let's say my company's profit has gone down, I need to increase the profit. Then you need to ensure that you are making some decisions, so that one can be there are 2 alternatives. One is going for a proactive approach of investing something, creating new product. Otherwise I can go on a cost cutting, right? By through saving some expenses, I can also make some profit. So that's just setting the goals. Then search for alternate solution. As I said, there are 2 ways to make profit. One is expand my business, differentiation, integration of the business, or launching a new product, increasing the business units, or trying to increase my market share in the business domain. That is one way. Another is, let's say I could see that with my balance sheets my expenses are really high, that is actually cutting my profit. So I can actually austerity approach, where I cut down the expenses drastically, so that I can actually again increase my profit. So now these are the 2 alternate course of actions. So you need to understand the problem. Let's say profit is a problem, then I can have 2 possible, or even multiple, more than 2. There are multiple options. You need to look at the alternate solution. Then you need to evaluate the alternate solution and select the best. Now let us again carry the same example. So let's say I wanted to, as a company, I want to make profit. So I made 2 choices. One is cost cutting, another is increasing my business, and increasing my business growth or a prosperity by way of introducing new product or increasing my market share in the business. So there are 2 choices. Now out of these 2 choices, I need to see which is actually better, which is viable. Let's say option A, which is cutting the cost. Yes, I can look at how I can cut the cost. Let's say I can instead of going for a large increment for my employees, I can go bring down the lower increments, or incentives, I can cut down on the incentives. Let's say, or the fixed cost, some process I can contract out, or I can send out the whole process for the alternate third party companies, so I can make some profit. So then I'm saving the cost on the human resources or material resources, inventory cost holding. There are ways I can do. Then the other one, say for example I need to introduce a new product, then there is a cost associated. So I need to evaluate both the solution, alternate solutions, and then select which one is feasible, and time bounding and many factors are involved. Then let's say I have decided to go for an option 1 of cutting cost, austerity approach, so that I am going to make profit. At least I can increase the profit. So I have, and then implement the select option. Okay, then I decided the option A as cutting the cost as an option to implement the solution, increase the profit. Then I need to understand how I am going to implement it, using the managerial, administrative and persuasive abilities to ensure that decision making for a selected option. Otherwise it may go wrong in the implementation. It is very important when you made a decision, okay, how you will be able to penetrate this decision, implement the decision in an effective way, coordinating across all functional areas. Then comes follow up and control. Yes, let's say I've implemented of cost cutting approach. Then you made a policy guidelines for every functional areas, every areas, wherever the expenses are going up, I need to bring it down. So then you need to say, okay, are we actually implementing it? And then how far functional areas are able to effectively implement it? Is it actually resulting in reducing the expenses? Because that has to actually show in my increasing the profit of reducing the expenses, right? So then I need to do a follow up. In case after the continued implementation I continue to see that there is no improvement, there is no progress, that I am not still incurring the similar expenses, then you need to go and control, direct certain department. Okay, you have to make a very conscious decision of cutting down the cost. So this is a possible way of implementing it. So there's a steps, as we said, you need to follow the steps in the decision making. Okay, so beyond this, there is also other people also talked about process of decision making. So he Benoitz has classified the process of decision making into 7 steps. Though we already discussed 6 steps, there are overlapping steps. Very similar step. We also saying defining the problem is very similar. Identifying the limiting factors, developing potential alternatives, analyze the alternatives is very similar to it. Selecting the best alternative, of course, select the best, and then implement the decision. Establish the control and evaluation. These are all very similar in the what Aswatha also discussed about. But there are other things which are different, which we are going to discuss. Identifying the limiting factors. So identifying the limiting factors is nothing but decision maker are in a position that they may lack time, or sometimes they may lack accurate information. Budget may be a constraint, or other resources which are actually impacting my decision making. So one has to identify what are the potential factors which will limit my decision making capacity. So that is also an important, which is not been considered in the Aswathapa's process of decision making. So where Benoitz also talking about a similar one, but this is another important thing where you need to identify what are the factors which will limit my decision making. Then establish a control and evaluation system. So this is the last step in any decision making. You need to ensure that you need to establish a control system or evaluation system in place. For example, in a company when you work, there is a performance assessment cycle, right? One after the end of the year, or maybe every quarter, every 6 months, when you are doing a particular job, then you need to be evaluated. There should be a system has to be created so that your actual performance will be evaluated, so that it is actually seen, are you actually contributing towards the success of the organization or not. So these are the process of decision making. Okay, so these are the references, and today we discussed about the definition and process with types of decision making. And the subsequent lectures we will be able to see other models of decision making and how you make the decisions. Thank you.